Welcome back, gamers. I'm Danny from NintendoCade channel. Today is my top 5 picks of the best Nintendo Switch games for the holiday season. So this list is actually for people who haven't gotten Nintendo Switch yet, are on the fence of what games to get for newcomers for the console. It is a fantastic system, has a bunch of variety of games for everyone. So I'm going to go through very wide range of games and genres that maybe suits the person that you're getting the gifts for. So I'm going to start with the fighting game genre for number 5. That is ARMS. Now, ARMS is actually a fantastic game on the system. It's actually a brand new IP for Nintendo. If you guys are wondering what kind of game is it, it's actually a fighting game with the springy arm characters that you can actually hit against back and forth, spar against your friends and family. Lots of fun. It's very fast paced. It has a lot of strategy involved. It's actually very easy to pick up, but you gotta know how to maneuver. You gotta know how to dodge. You gotta know how to hit the opponents. You actually aim. You can actually use 2 Joy-Cons independently on both arms, and then actually swing your arms back and forth, and you actually perform those moves that way. Or you can actually use the Pro Controller. Either way, it's actually a fun game to play with your friends and family. Of course, tied number 5. That's this Pokken Tournament DX for Nintendo Switch. A really fantastic traditional fighting game where you go head to head with Pokemon, but it actually has the Tekken mechanics built into it. So if you're familiar with Tekken, this game is for you. It's actually very easy to pull off the moves, and you can play with various Pokemons in the Pokemon universe, and the moves are very flashy. Again, it's very easy to pull off. I'm not a Pokken Tournament DX expert, but I can feel that I can pull off many great moves along the way. So now we're going to number 4. Number 4 is actually Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. This actually is a port from the Wii U edition. Now, what's included in this one is actually all the DLC, and the biggest inclusion is the battle mode. This game is easy to pick up and play. You can actually race online with strangers, even with friends and family, and you can just go in and race, have a good time. You actually can learn all the shortcuts and go through the course with ease and be number 1 every time. Now we're going to number 3 is Splatoon 2. Now this is the sequel to the original for the Wii U, and it's actually a big hit for Nintendo, and actually is a shooter with really nice mechanics, really interesting mechanics to say. Instead of using the typical guns and bullets, this is actually using ink as your main terms of weapon. You're shooting ink against your opponents. One of the main modes is actually a turf war, where you can actually cover the ground. The team that covers the most ground wins if the time runs out. There's actually have these all these competitive modes that I can get into. They can actually play online. A lot of fun. You can actually rank up and kind of feel accomplished as you're going through it. And it does take a lot of skills to master this game, because obviously you can pick it up and ink all you want, but you actually have to put some time and energy into mastering the game. But not to say that it's a hard game to get into. You definitely have to work it, and you get a lot of enjoyment out of this, and especially for anyone that enjoys a shooter. Splatoon 2 is a recommendation. Now, number 2 is one of the new releases for the holiday season, and it's one of the biggest games for Nintendo Switch, and needs no introduction if you've been playing with Nintendo Switch. But for anyone that is new, it actually has a Super Mario game, a Super Mario Odyssey for Nintendo Switch. This is one of the Game of the Year contenders this year. It's a fantastic game. It took the platforming genre to the next level. It has this really nice cappy mechanic where Mario takes his cap and flings it to an opponent, where you can actually control the enemy, like a Goomba or a Koopa Troopa or any of the newer characters in the game, and you actually can traverse the world in different ways that you can ever thought possible. Even a bullet bill, you can actually obviously hover in air and go through certain courses really easily, and the environments are very varied, vast in terms of like a desert, a forest, a cityscape. A really amazing scope of kind of environments you're able to explore. This really reminds me of Super Mario 64 from Nintendo 64. If you guys know that game, this is the game for you. This is my number 2 pick, and it's absolute must for Nintendo Switch. Now, my absolute number 1, and obviously I'm wearing the clothing as we speak right now, that is The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild for Nintendo Switch. Really a fantastic game. It is a revolution in terms of the genre itself. Zelda games in the past have been in terms of a linear pathway that you can actually transverse through the story, but this one takes it to a different avenue in terms of how it's designed. It's an open world adventure. You can do anything you want, anything that you see in the vast world, you can actually travel to by foot. by transport, by a horse, any way you want, and the amount of things to do is unbelievable. This game, you can take hours on end to complete. It can take you literally hours just to transfer from one end to the next. That tells you how big of the scope of this game. It truly is one of the Game of the Year contenders for Nintendo Switch, and is my #1 recommendation for Nintendo Switch. And it's actually a launch title, and actually that's what makes it really special. If you guys get a Nintendo Switch, you can actually get this right out of the gate, and you can't go wrong. You can play this forever. And to this day, there's still DLC being released for the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild to expand the amazing, vast adventure of this game. So these are my top 5, but I want to mention there are some honorable mentions. If you're obviously a fighting game guy, that is the Ultra Street Fighter 2, the Final Challengers. This is actually a very traditional Street Fighter game, a fighting game. If you guys know from the Super Nintendo, this is actually a very good port of the game. I mean, they revamped it in HD. They have two kind of graphical modes, an HD redrawn animation look, and also a classic kind of look as well. So the sound effects is all there. Really great to play on the go for any Street Fighter fan. Another honorable mention is actually one of the more recent releases, is actually Mario plus Ravish Kingdom Battle. And this is actually a collaboration from Nintendo and Ubisoft. A really great strategy game, a real-time strategy game. It's more similar to a game called XCOM. If you're familiar with that game, you know what this game is about. And just to say, this is actually, from the look of it, it looks really easy to play and pick up. It really is true, but it actually has a lot of scope and go into it. There's actually a battle tree where you actually can customize your moves, your attacks, your weapons to make it. It's actually a very broad base in terms of strategy and what you can do to transverse. And if you just do something simple, you cannot maybe pass through the more advanced stages later on. So it has a lot of depth into it, easy to pick up, but hard to master. So those are my honorable mentions for the top 5 of everything. I should say more like top 7 Nintendo Switch games for the holiday season. Hope you guys feel the same way. Leave it down below in the comments. What are your thoughts of my picks for the holiday season? What are your picks? I'm very interested to hear what you have to say. If you enjoyed this episode, I appreciate a thumbs up. Subscribe to NintendoCade, that's always helpful, and I'll catch you again in the next episode.